Hi there. You know me from what I do today, which is focused about crop protection, about Green Valley. But let me tell you the story of how it all started, which has to do a lot with my activities today. And I started as a farmer. I was growing apples, nectarines, peaches, cherries, walnuts, pears, vines, many things, not far from Jerusalem, like 15 minutes away in the mountains. Beautiful place. And the orchards were really good. For example, growing apples, the yield was very high. Really low was like 40 tons per hectare. The high was more like 120. So this is how it was. And quality was good. Actually, we had no complaints. That was at the end of the 80s, beginning of 90s. Spraying was a lot. I came after someone else who was spraying practically every day the orchards, every time for something else. So there was nothing moving, but the fruit looks really nice from the outside. The taste was good, so there was no problem of selling it. Now what I found out is a few things. First of all, as I said, spraying is a lot. I was trying to reduce spraying by joining a special project called IPM, Integrated Pest Management. That happened my first year in the orchards. I was already like 23 years old. Now don't forget, I grew up in those orchards, okay? But I was managing the crop protection and the harvest. So that was very special. We were trying to reduce the number of sprays, to spray less chemicals. Everything went well until we got to the end of the season, and we tried to reduce the number of sprays for fruit flies. Bang! That was a disaster. After a very successful year, just before harvest, well, we have lost lots of fruits because of infestation to fruit flies. Not so good. Well, that was a dead end for me. And at the end of that year, as well as the years after, I tried to think about how do I increase the income per hectare, since the number of hectares are limited. Up there in the mountains, terrace, very limited. There is no reserve land. Well, the yield is very high, very, very high, actually. And any additional per hectare will mean that we give up on the quality, on the taste, on the size of the fruit. Well, that was also not an option. And I thought to myself, what can I do to increase my income? I'm not happy with the income that I have. And the only way I was able to think of increasing the income is by getting more money, higher price for every kilogram that I sell. And the thing was that in those days, actually, the price per kilo was limited. Already a few years, we couldn't get any more. Roughly, it was $1. Okay? We couldn't get any more. And the price even went down. I'm talking mainly about apples, which is the main crop in the orchards where I was working. So price is not going up, price is going down or not changing, while the inputs, the cost of them is going up. Not so good. So I thought to myself, what can I do to get more money per kilo? That's the only way I can increase my income. And I thought, well, if I can sell each kilogram for more money, that's a good way of doing it. And that means getting higher value, increase the value of each kilogram. How do you increase the value? You make it for your customer, for your client, you sell added value, something that the client is ready to pay more. And I thought to myself, what can that be? Well, at that point, what I felt, I was very connected to my own health, to the health of the environment, as well as the health of my own orchards. It all connected around one thing: less chemicals. At the early 90s, this is when the green parties started to pop up all over Europe. And awareness to the environment became much greater than before, as well as I developed it within myself. So I said, well, if my clients will be ready to pay more to get added value, because this apple, this fruit, which is already not so cheap, but they will pay more if they know that there is no chemical in it, if they know that I grew it in a very eco-friendly manner, and I kept the environment well. So this was my target. Now remember, those days I also had some organic orchards, but I knew that this is a different market. You have the market of the organic buyers, you have the market of the conventional so-called clients, and there is this market which do have high consciousness toward the environment, but not organic. But they will be ready to pay the extra 30-40%, sometimes even more. So this is where I was targeting, to this market. And then I understood that to achieve this goal, I have to get rid of chemical sprays. And most of all, the sprays for fruit flies. Why fruit flies? Because fruit flies, the number of sprays were more than 50% of the total number of sprays that I make. Not only that, for fruit flies, you need to spray just before harvest. It depends on the crop, but it is between 2 to 5 months before harvest that you need to start spray every week, and sometimes even twice and 3 times a week. So by removing it, you get rid of all the chemical residues, and from over 50% of your number of sprays. And of course, because you spray chemicals, you also kill beneficials. And when you kill the beneficials, you need to spray more. So by removing those sprays for fruit flies, practically you remove between 80 to 90% of the total number of sprays in your orchard. And this is what I was aiming for. And this is what led me later to go to university, study agriculture, entomology, become an expert on fruit fly ecology, and later start a biofeed company that would develop the freedom and the first ever effective solution for fruit flies without sprays. Bye bye.